Joining us live now, the former Liberal MP and ambassador to Israel, Dave Sharma. Dave, in terms of evacuations, particularly in a place like Sudan, I mean, how difficult would that be?
Look, it's challenging. Obviously, Khartoum has an international airport. There are flights still operating in and out, but the airport is a target for both of these military forces fighting this. The Sudanese armed forces, the command of one general and the support forces, and a militia which was previously part of the government, if you like, as well. And they are both fighting for control of Khartoum, which means it's hard to guarantee the safety of aircraft, the safety of aircraft control operations, but also access routes to and from the airport. So certainly countries should be evacuating their citizens and urging their diplomats and non-essential staff to leave as well. But it's going to be a challenging operation, not like Kabul, say, in Afghanistan 2 years ago when that fell, but still a difficult operation nonetheless.
The Defence Strategic Review, it's a big one. It's out today, Dave. From what you've been able to glean so far, a couple of drops on the weekend, some more drops today, particularly when it comes to guided missiles. What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Well, I think what I've seen so far is positive. It seems to be accelerating our longer-range strike capabilities, our ability to deter adversaries over the horizon, the sovereign capability we have to manufacture and make these sorts of armaments and missile systems ourselves. So I think this is important because Australia has lacked a long-range strike capability of that sort. It seems pretty clear that the Army is going to take some cuts for infantry fighting vehicles, potentially in tanks and those sorts of things. And I think that probably makes sense for the sorts of conflicts we're likely to face over the next several years. I think the big challenge, though, this plus the submarines is still very much how is the government going to pay for an increased share of defence spending as part of GDP? Are they going to pay for it with more debt? Are they going to pay for it with higher taxes? Or are they going to pay for it with cuts to other elements of social outlays? And that's the question they're yet to answer on this.
Yeah, I noticed, just back on your point there about the supposed cuts to the Army. It's to make way for increased spending when it comes to the Navy, and there had been some suggestions that the Army was seeing this as some kind of demotion when it comes to the respective arms of defence. But I think it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, if there's going to be war in our region, a lot of it's going to be on water.
I think that's right. I mean, a critical asset we need to protect, if you like, is the maritime approaches to Australia, because that's vital for our trading routes. That's vital for all sorts of critical supplies to travel to and from Australia. And we protect our critical maritime routes with air and naval capabilities. It's true that over the past 2 decades, the Army has borne the brunt of Australian operations abroad, whether it's operations like Afghanistan and Iraq, but also peacekeeping operations in places like Solomon Islands, Bougainville and East Timor. But I think we expect that the future conflict is going to be higher intensity with peer adversaries, not with militias or terrorists or sub-professional military units. And so in that sense, it makes sense, I think, to be investing more in our Navy and our Air Force and comparatively less in our Army.
Okay, more details on that to be revealed in a few hours' time. Good to see you, Dave. Dave Sharma there, the former ambassador to Israel, joining us live there.